Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar on Messenger bot best practices for conversation design and UX. Today, we're going to discuss insights on how to build great experiences on Messenger. We'll have three speakers. Zakia Barnes is a member of the developer operations team here at Facebook. Her team builds tools and communications which surface best practices for developers like yourselves. Gabe Riley is part of Facebook's Creative Shop team and has deep expertise in Messenger best practices, solving for complex business challenges and creating delightful user experiences. Arjun Ori, finally, is the CEO of one of our partners, ShopMessage, and has built many experiences that drive business results and delight users. In today's agenda, Gabe will first discuss creative frameworks to solve business challenges. Also, how to leverage an ecosystem of ads, experiences, and re-engagement, and how to say it, and thinking about live messaging versus automation. Then Zakia will discuss the building blocks for a great experience, including how to ensure that your bot is responsive and provides users with an intuitive structure. Additionally, she'll discuss how to build frictionless conversations and design sophisticated conversation flows. Finally, Arjun will walk us through a number of great experiences that ShopMessage has developed. These experiences will really drive home Zakia's and Gabe's points. At the end, we'll have time for Q&A.
Thanks, Pablo, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. To kick things off, I'm going to provide an overview of building Messenger experiences and the campaigns that support them. I'm going to cover how Messenger can solve marketing challenges, the components of a successful Messenger experience, creative opportunities for building delightful conversations, and then how to think about trade-offs between live chat and automation. All right, let's get started with how Messenger can solve our clients' business challenges. We all know marketing budgets tend to follow consumer behavior, and of course, consumer adoption of messaging continues to grow. Most importantly for businesses, though, within that consumer shift to messaging, people are reaching out to businesses more and more. And the rate of growth is staggering. On Messenger alone, there are 10 billion messages sent between people and businesses every month. Just a couple of years ago, that number was 1 billion. And just in the last year, it's grown over 4 times. Now, typically when we think about messaging between people and businesses, what comes to mind first is customer service. However, when we talk to people and businesses about the conversations they're having, we find out they happen throughout the consumer journey, marketing funnel, or whatever you want to call it. Not only do people message businesses for support, they're also getting in touch to learn about new products, ask questions, and even make purchases. So let's take a look at how a number of businesses have used Messenger to solve customer challenges around awareness, consideration, and transaction in particular. All right, let's start with awareness. When Nat Geo, a TV network in the US, launched the Genius Picasso series, they turned to Messenger to drive awareness and tune in. Facebook and Instagram ads drove people into Messenger, where a Picasso messaging bot created personalized portraits for each user. People could then share their portrait with friends and family to help boost awareness of the new show, but more importantly, they could also sign up for tune-in reminders from the bot, so they'd be sure to watch when new episodes aired. So just like Nat Geo did, you can think about how Messenger can help amplify awareness for your clients' brands, products, or services. All right, let's take a look at another example, this time around consideration. And we're going to look at how LEGO used Messenger to help drive gifting during the holidays. In particular, LEGO created a Messenger experience and campaign to help adults identify the right LEGO set for the kids in their lives. LEGO built Facebook and Instagram ads that drove people into a Messenger experience that provided personalized gift recommendations based on a short series of questions. People could then add gifts to their cart and check out through Messenger's native web browser. This is massively helpful for busy adults, unsure of which LEGO set would be right for their kids. So just like LEGO did, think about how a conversation in Messenger could help your clients unlock a consideration challenge. All right, let's look at transaction. And this time we're going to look at how Fanta in Brazil used Messenger to drive coupon redemption around the launch of a new line extension. Fanta built ads driving people into a Messenger experience where they could sign up for a free trial of that new soft drink at McDonald's. Additionally, the bot allowed people to find the nearest participating restaurant based on their location, and it generated a coupon they could redeem in store for that free drink. This is just one example of how Messenger can streamline the process of taking action. So, just like Fanta, you can think about how Messenger can facilitate conversions for your customers, whether that's redeeming offers, driving sales, booking appointments, or generating leads. So when thinking about what to build for Messenger, it always starts with the bigger goal. From there, you can think through how a conversation might unlock that objective. Later in this presentation, Arjun is going to also share a few case studies that show how ShopMessage approach solving these objectives with their clients. All right, now that we've talked about the role Messenger can play in solving business challenges, let's look at the key components of a successful experience. In particular, the best Messenger experiences support a bigger idea, objective, or campaign. And to do that, you've got to think not only about building a Messenger experience itself, but also a campaign that drives people in, along with a re-engagement strategy to keep that conversation going. Let's take a look at an example of a brand that did just that. This is LG, the Korean electronics manufacturer. They recently launched a washer and dryer that separate lights and darks simultaneously. To do so, they built an idea with Messenger at the heart. The creative idea was called Laundry Museum. They created a virtual gallery that brought to life people's stories of laundry that had been ruined by mixing lights and colors, a problem that their washer was uniquely positioned to solve. The campaign came to life with short videos on Facebook and Instagram that drove people into Messenger, where they could share their own stories of ruined laundry, like you see here. By doing so, people had the chance to win a free washer, as well as have their story shared as part of the larger advertising campaign. So in this way, LG built a messaging experience that served their bigger campaign and creative idea. Messenger not only helped bring that idea to life, but it also contributed back to the campaign itself. This is just one approach, but the framework is always the same. Use a Messenger experience along with a campaign and a re-engagement strategy to support your goals. So here's a look at the toolkit that can help you do just that. These are the entry points into Messenger. In particular, there are 4 ways people can find businesses on Messenger. First, the Discover tab. People will see suggested businesses based on their interests, as well as the popularity, quality, and personal relevance of those chat experiences. Please note, this is not a paid placement in the Messenger app. Next, codes and links. Businesses can use m.me links or QR codes to drive traffic to their Messenger experience. Website plugins. Additionally, businesses can add a number of Messenger plugins to their website to allow people to message them or opt in to receive messages with just one click. Finally, ads that click to Messenger. These ads run in the Facebook news feed, Instagram feed, and in Messenger itself. Tapping the ad unit opens a chat with the advertiser. Additionally, sponsored messages allow businesses to re-engage with people who've already messaged them. Cool. So now that we've figured out kind of the strategic approach and the ecosystem you need to build to support it, let's look at how Messenger experiences can be creative, engaging, and even magical. Now, when we tend to think of messaging, the thing that comes to mind is text. But the truth is, at its heart, messaging is and always has been a visual medium. The first messages were drawings, after all. And today we're actually in a renaissance of visual messaging. People use photos, videos, GIFs, and emoji to express themselves in conversation. This fact, along with a number of other creative trends, open up a whole world of creative possibilities. So let's take a look at some. We'll start with personality, or how a brand is experienced when it shows up in a conversation. There are a whole range of approaches to consider here. Maybe a brand's voice will translate to Messenger, or maybe it makes sense to be more conversational instead. Or you could consider taking a more assisting or helpful voice to lead people through an experience. Alternatively, your messenger experience could personify a spokesperson or have its own identity, like Lego did with Ralph. In this example, Haven Life, which is a life insurance provider in the US, takes a really conversational approach to Messenger. This makes the process of applying for life insurance about as fun as it can be. Another approach could be to tell a story or deliver personalized content through Messenger. For instance, you could consider releasing exclusive content to Messenger subscribers, extending the content of your creative idea into Messenger, or even delivering an original narrative entirely inside Messenger. In this example, iconic author James Patterson developed a new story which was told entirely within Messenger. Now, we often get a lot of questions about what's called natural language processing or open-ended conversations. But when it comes to driving marketing objectives, we tend to recommend taking a guided approach to conversations. This approach not only keeps your conversation on rails and supports your objective, but it can also be more clear, engaging, and branded. To do that, you can take advantage of tools like quick replies, carousels, and lists that provide options and keep people engaged. So in this example here, you see T-Mobile in Germany, and they're showing how a guided conversation can not only be really clear, but also more engaging and branded. All right, let's look at photo and video. Of course, the old saying is, a picture says 1,000 words. And so photo and videos can actually help you communicate more efficiently, as well as more creatively. Not only can they keep your conversation engaging and branded, but they can also add new dimension to it. For instance, you could use them to deliver instructions, share exclusive content, or bring people behind the scenes. In this great example here from the Vancouver Art Gallery, photos and videos in Messenger literally bring an art installation to life. Finally, you can also use Messenger to generate what we call digital souvenirs, things like personalized photos and videos, or even prizes, coupons, and gift cards. People can then share those assets with friends through Messenger or Facebook, just like Nat Geo did with their Picasso experience. These are just a couple of examples of the creativity you can unlock inside Messenger to make your conversations fun, delightful, and engaging. All right, finally, I'm going to wrap up here by talking about some considerations for thinking through live chat and automation. When we talk to clients, we guide them to think about their approach to messaging along a continuum that runs from live messaging to automated to a more custom or hybrid approach of those first two. In particular, we encourage them to start with page messaging. Messenger is connected to a business's Facebook page, allowing them to manage their inbox through their page or their business manager. Now, as their chat volume grows, they can either integrate with a live chat provider or explore automation through page messaging tools like greetings, instant replies, or move to a fully automated approach with a developer. And of course, there are a range of options when it comes to working with developers, from self-serve providers and templates to full-service developers who can build customized experiences that include both live, chat, and automation. Now, of course, most clients aren't going to move step by step along this progression. So how do we help them figure out where to get started? There's no easy answer. So generally, we work with them to think through the trade-offs of a live, automated, or hybrid approach. In particular, here are some specific considerations. First, does their goal or objective require a particular approach? For instance, for customer service, live chat typically makes the most sense. Whereas for something like lead generation and nurture, a hybrid of automation with handoff to a live agent would probably make more sense. Next, cost or budget. These are always really important considerations. For instance, to start, it might make more sense to build from a self-service template and then customize as time goes by. Next is resourcing. And this is really a key consideration for live chat in particular. For instance, if a client doesn't already support live chat in other channels, building that practice is going to take considerable time and resource. Alternatively, clients might be looking to make existing live chat resources more efficient and therefore explore automation as a way to reduce cost. Finally, there could be other technical requirements that drive the approach. For instance, does the idea for the experience require a certain approach? Just like the Nat Geo example required working with a developer who could handle image processing. So talk through these considerations when determining the approach that's going to make the most sense for your clients. All right, now that we've covered an overview of building messenger campaigns and experiences, I'm going to hand it over to Zakia, who's going to cover the building blocks of a great messenger experience.
So, as Gabe and Pablo noted, my name is Zakia Barnes, and I work in the developer operations space. And a lot of the recommendations that I'm going to give you are based on the experience of evaluating thousands of bots in this past year. So, of course, I'm going to go over some technical implementation aspects. And so if you have any questions, please be sure to log those questions in the question section. Okay, let's get started. So we'll start first with user expectations. They really fall into three buckets. And that's one bucket, that first bucket is responding. The second bucket is the conversational approach that your bot takes. And then the third bucket is just being able to navigate all the different features of the bot. So we'll start with responding. Anyone can really think of an experience of sending a bot a message and not getting a response. It's pretty frustrating. And so, but it's not surprising. In actuality, about 30% of the bots that my DevOps team is asked to evaluate are not responsive to the Get Started button or any text input. So it happens more often than what we would like. So the key thing is making sure that your bot is responsive, but then the other recommendation that we typically make to developers is that that bot responds in less than 5 seconds. The second bucket has to do with the conversational approach that you take. And really here's what we advocate for is that you and your developer team really follow just the norms around tone, around the length of the message, and around the frequency of the messages. So once you follow those aspects, and then also consider what it means for the user to easily navigate all the different options and features of your bot, then that would basically lead to really high marks in 3 levels. One, you'll see a decent acquisition of new users, and that can come organically or can come from users sharing your bot experiences. You also see if your bot is designed to retain users, that day over day, month over month, that users will come back and engage with your bot. And ultimately, you'll see it in the events that users will be able to get to find the solution that they're looking for when they have a conversation with your bot. So this next part of my talk, really I'm going to highlight or focus on 2 different bot experiences. The first being Sephora, which is a retailer that sells beauty products. And so what their development team did pretty well is they designed what we would describe as a customer service bot and also an e-commerce bot. So it has 2 use cases. And here I'm going to show a 20-second clip that shows the user basically selecting a location and a time for the appointment. So as we can see now, the user is specifying that they want to book an appointment in Palo Alto. The bot will respond with providing a carousel template that will give the user options, and they selected Stanford. And because of the integration with the calendar, the user was allowed to select the available time for them, which is at 2 p.m. So going back to what it means to be responsive, depending on the entry point, the best entry point for your user, in this case, I'm showing a screenshot as if the user directly messaged the bot. Basically, the user will see first the Get Started button, but this is a great opportunity for your team to spec out what the functionality of the bot and how responsive the bot would be. And as soon as that user selects the Get Started button, what they should expect to receive is a personalized text with their name. The key points here too, though, and Gabe mentioned this earlier, When deciding between a simple decision tree logic or natural language processing to structure the conversation, one key thing that bot developers don't necessarily account for is what happens when the user sends a question that the bot does not recognize, sort of out of scope. Well, sometimes that breaks the conversation. Other instances that can break the conversations are when the users send emojis or other images. And essentially, what essentially ends up happening is that the user has to restart the conversation, which could be a frustrating experience. So what we recommend here is creating some sort of catch-all for all those out-of-scope conversations, but then also enabling your bot to be responsive to emojis and images so that the conversation can keep going. And this comes, or could come in the form of just specking out 2 or more error messages or redirecting the user to the core functionality of the bot. So the next bit, I'm going to continue to use the Sephora example. And the key focal point here is to provide the user with an intuitive structure. And the first point is the persistent menu. So I think of this as sort of the anchor for the conversation for the user. And this is really important. Sephora's done a great job of creating a hierarchical structure within the persistent menu. But one key thing that I want to point out for your developer team is to consider is that if you're going to use that approach where you have a hierarchical structure, that follows the mental mapping that the user has for the core functionality of the bot. So within that persistent menu, 2 things that are really important. One, providing a point or an item so that the user can always restart the conversation. And in this case, the screenshot is showing that the core functions of the bot, so that the user always has access. The next key point of structuring the conversation is, like, if you elect to use templates and continue the conversation, you can use postback. You can implement postback buttons within those templates. But another option to give users a guided options for responding are quick replies. And really the key differences here is that oftentimes, more often than not, users prefer a quick reply because it's a more intuitive way of responding. And those quick replies often disappear. But the key value here, as you can see in the screenshot of the postback button, sharing store feedback, is that the user can always go back, scroll up, share that feedback, and continue the conversation. Next here is a look at or a view of all the templates that you have options to use. So in this case, Sephora is implementing the carousel template, which allows users to scroll through many options and select the best look. But there are other options that include list templates and also media templates. And the key thing is deciding how many options do you want to give your users, and how do you want to account for those options? What type of images do you want to associate with those options? The key thing here is consistently using high quality images and making sure that whatever buttons that you create, that if the user scrolls back through the conversation, that when they look back at the conversation, that they can follow the flow. The last point here, intuitive structure. If you're creating a customer service bot in particular, having that ability to transfer the conversation to a live agent is a really sophisticated approach, but there are really 3 key things that you want to account for. One, you want to ensure that the user knows that they're being transferred to a live agent, and you want to give them the option to exit that conversation. And usually that can be provided in the persistent menu item, or in this case, in a postback button. Then the second thing is understanding, making sure that the user understands the type of information that they can provide that live agent, so that that live agent is prepared to be responsive. And the last key thing is ensuring that the user knows that level of responsiveness. So essentially, how available is that live agent and when they can expect to start that conversation. So the next example here's my second example, and this is a great example of a very sophisticated and frictionless conversation. The the key thing here is this bot was designed to help Australian citizens file a simple tax return. And I will talk through this conversation flow as it happens. And so you'll start to see here, it starts with a very personalized response and an explanation of the key features of the bot. That quick reply allows the conversation to continue. And once the user agrees to the terms, they submit their information, the most important being the tax filing number. But this web view allows for the collection of a lot of detailed information that would be harder if you use post-spec buttons and templates all throughout. What I love is also the use of really high quality emojis. But again, here's a web view that allows for the user to complete another form. And the key thing about this approach too is that text input is enabled so that the user can respond to any questions. But for the most part, that whole flow only took a minute, and the tax return was done. So when we look back at, what are the key things or key functionality that really made that a sophisticated flow, the first thing that stands off right off the bat is offering customers customized sharing features in WebView, and that came in with the forms that ask for all the personal information and details like address, name, tax filing number, that would take a much longer time to collect if you did not allow for that form to be accessible. The utilization of buttons here was the approach here that was taken for the tax bot. You may have noticed that whenever there was a post-spec button option or a quick reply, there's usually only one item. And that is a sign that the developer team was pretty confident in understanding exactly the information that they needed from the user, but also speccing out the flow so that they had just a minimal number of options, but can basically guide the user through the flow in the most expedient way possible. Of course, the high quality images and the emojis and the conversational approach was really helpful. And what I think this bot did really well was just consistently setting expectations throughout the conversation flow and providing meaningful context so that if the user had to scroll back through or had to put the phone down, they could easily pick up the conversation. The last bit here is that because this bot was designed to submit taxes, everyone knows there's a tax season. That tax season is now over in Australia. So if you were to engage with the bot now, you would actually be sent to this page where you could fill out an ancillary tax form following the tax season, the end of the tax season campaign. So one thing to be mindful of is if you build a bot for a specific campaign or a time period, that you still account for users to access that bot and want to communicate, but allow them and give them directions on basically how to either exit the flow or go to your website for more information. Okay, I'm going to pass it off to Arjun to review some shop message case studies. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks Zakia and Gabe, and thanks to the Facebook team for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. My name is Arjun Ori, and I'm the founder of ShopMessage. ShopMessage is a messenger bot platform focused on helping brands and e-commerce merchants drive sales and build long-term relationships with their customers. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share specific examples of real brands that have used the guidance that Zakia and Gabe shared to drive real revenue and provide better customer experiences. And as a brief introduction, ShopMessage has powered the messenger experience for some of the fastest growing retail brands, selling everything from deodorant, bed sheets, nutritional supplements, jewelry, fast fashion, and more. And these brands, among others, have driven over $100 million over Messenger through ShopMessage. So I'll be sharing these case studies and the lessons learned from some of these successful brands. Our first major lesson that we learned is that context matters. You have to think about how customers engage with your brand holistically. So for your bot users, Messenger might be just one of the many touch points. So for e-commerce stores specifically, most of a shopper's relationship with the brand previously happened when they browsed products and made purchases on their website, or on social media such as Instagram or Facebook. And the lesson we learned is that you can build a better bot experience by including the context from the user's other experiences within the Messenger conversation. So as an example, our first case study is Fashion Nova. Many of you guys know Fashion Nova as with over 15 million followers on Instagram. It's really a social media pioneer and considered to be the most mainstream and successful Instagram brand. And their website gets millions of visitors browsing around and shopping on its site. And Fashion Nova wanted to use Messenger to continue the conversation with customers even after the user left their site. There are many ways for users to opt in to receive messages from your brand. You can run click-to-messenger ads, send m.me links, respond to comments and posts, and more. But what Fashion Nova found to be the most successful was using the Messenger website plugins to allow users to start Messenger conversations right when they're browsing the site. So compared to other channels like email and SMS, the Messenger opt-in was seamless. It was just a single tap. There's no need to type in an email address or password or even switch to a different app. And going back to our lesson that context matters, Fashion Nova wanted to balance having a high opt-in rate while preserving the customer experience. So they used Shot Message's built-in logic to do a number of things. Number one is prompt only the users who are actually logged into Facebook, and then prompt them at the right time when their intent is high. Say when the user has added something to their cart and they express purchase intent. Also, by using an on-site website plugin, the Fashion Nova has the ability to associate that shopper's on-site behavior with their Messenger profile, and then they can follow up by sending a welcome message containing not only a discount, but also information about the products they browse on the site. So the result for Fashion Nova was a 12% conversion rate, more than double the opt-in rate for email. And the users who opted in on Messenger saw a 23% lift in sales compared to those who did not opt in. So now that the user started a Messenger conversation, Fashion Nova's goal was to guide the user through their journey, so guide them towards actually making a transaction. And continuing with our theme that context matters, it's really important that the Messenger experience feels like an extension of the user's activity on the site. So let's take the common scenario where a user visits Fashion Nova's website, browses around, and perhaps adds some products to cart, but say they got busy or distracted and did not complete the purchase. So in Fashion Nova's case, they used Shot Message and Facebook Messenger platform to send a reminder. And so notice how personalized this feels. First of all, timing-wise, the message is sent within 30 minutes of actually browsing the site. And then secondly, Fashion Nova personalizes a message by greeting the user by name. And then if you look at the message itself, you'll notice that it contains the exact contents of the user's cart, as well as a discount to get the user to finish the purchase. And from here, the user can tap to get back into a checkout flow with the pre-applied discount, or they have the option of continuing the conversation by browsing related items that are personalized based on their site activity, or if they have a question, they can respond and talk to a CS agent live. And now to the results. By incorporating the context from the user's off-Messenger experiences and bringing that into Messenger, Fashion Nova saw over 80% open rates, more than 5 times the click-through rate that they see versus email, and they recovered almost 10% of their abandoned carts through Messenger. Let's move on to another brand, Movement Watches, and let's see how they use Messenger to surface an interactive product quiz. The Movement is a lifestyle brand specializing in modern, minimal, yet bold watches and jewelry. And they also have this very strong visual identity and branding on Facebook and Instagram. So when users visit their website, they already instantly get a feel for what the brand represents. So over the holiday season, Movement's goal was to take these customers who were already aware of the brand and help them through the consideration phase to find the perfect piece for themselves or a loved one. So they used newsfeed click-to-messenger ads to retarget the users into a Messenger conversation. And here, the takeaway is that guided flows proved to be a strong interaction model. So using quick replies and buttons, users were able to get through this product quiz, and with just a few taps, they chose a product type to shop, and they can even choose more details. Like, for example, if they're shopping for watches, they can choose the color, size, and strap that they prefer. And all of this data gets synchronized back into the Messenger profile and gives Movement the ability to go and reach these users later on with even more personalization. And finally, Movement sends personalized product recommendations based on what's actually in stock. And all of this data gets fed back to Movement for personalizing future messages. And the buttons and quick replies made it so easy that 74% of users completed the quiz. And those users saw an 80% conversion rate lift when they went back to the Movement site. And then again, Movement gets the added bonus of really augmenting their CRM with customer preferences. Our final case study is with Blenders Eyewear. Based in San Diego, Blenders is a rapidly growing brand specializing in sunglasses and snow goggles. Blenders had already built an engaged audience on Messenger and had already been sending transactional messages like receipts and cart reminders. But Blenders was running a promotion for St. Patrick's Day, and they wanted a way to re-engage their customers over Messenger. So they took their Messenger audience, segmented down just to the people who are most likely to purchase, and then they sent a sponsored message to their audience. And this was wildly successful for Blenders, resulting in more than 30x ROAS, outperforming all their other ad placements. And one learning we had was that even though the message itself was visual and engaging, Blenders drove considerable amount of engagement and sales through their persistent menu. So once the user's back in the Messenger conversation, they can use a persistent menu to do a number of things. And the best practices for e-commerce brands was to allow the ability to shop various collections from the persistent menu, get answers to the most common customer support questions like, where's my order, what's your shipping and return policy, where can I get more help, and also giving ways to adjust some of their preferences on what kind of messages they get in Messenger. So the persistent menu was surprisingly a huge source of the sales, even though users were re-engaged with the sponsored message. And as a recap, context matters, especially when users primarily interact with your brand on a different channel like a website. And then you should use that context, given where they are in their customer journey, to send a personalized message to these users. And then another best practice is using guided flows, using quick replies, buttons, and persistent menus to make the transaction more fun, lightweight, engaging, and frankly, higher converting. And if you follow all these, you'll drive business results, which for e-commerce sites is profit. And as a final word, just like customers expect to be able to call a business, visit their website, or find them on Google, customers will expect to reach brands over chat, and Messenger is leading the way. It's clear that Facebook as a company is investing in messaging across the board, and we here at ShopMessage are excited to do our part in enabling businesses around the world. So with that, thank you for listening. Thanks again to Facebook Messenger for inviting me, and feel free to contact me via email or Messenger. My contact information is below. And now we'll open it up for a Q&A.
Thanks so much, Arjun, and thank you so much, Zaki and Gabe, for your earlier presentations. So yeah, let's get started with Q&A. We have a few questions already lined up, but for all the participants online, please feel free to enter any questions through the questions box on the GoToWebinar window. So to get us started, maybe Gabe, we saw a number of very useful examples here. Where can our attendees get access to these examples and case studies?
Cool. Yeah, so many of the examples you saw, the creative examples and the case studies here, are available on our website. So that's facebook.com/business. And if you navigate there to the success stories section of the website, you'll be able to filter success stories by platform. So you can look for success stories specifically for Messenger, and there you'll see all of the case studies and success stories available for Messenger, these and many more.
Sounds great. Thank you, Gabe. And Adam, one question that arises and continually arises is when and how often can pages message users?
Yeah, absolutely. So Our full policy is available in our dev docs. So if you just search Google Messenger platform policy, you can find it there. But happy to provide kind of a quick overview of what that is and how it's applied. So the base policy is called, we call it internally 24+1, which means that after a person reaches out to you in Messenger, so messages your business or interacts with content with your business in Messenger, you have 24 hours to message as much as you want. So you can send updates, promotional content, non-promotional content within that 24-hour period. And then after that 24-hour period expires, you have one additional message you can send. And so say you chat with a person back and forth, and a week later, you want to send them a notification about a new product or any other content you choose that's well within your right within the 24+1 period. Separately, for just general promotional re-engagement, long term, we have a product called Sponsored Messages, which you can purchase in Ads Manager and the Marketing API, which allows you to send promotional content in Messenger to open threads you have in Messenger indefinitely. Lastly, there are two other products we have, or kind of policy exceptions we have. One are message tags, which are designed to allow businesses to re-engage users or provide users notification updates for specific non-promotional use cases. So a classic example is shipping updates. If you want to send shipping updates after a purchase, there's a message tag for that. And the full list of message tags is available in our dev docs. And the final use case is subscriptions for news, for mostly kind of for news use case and personal productivity use cases, strictly non-promotional, and most kind of retail or commerce use cases generally don't apply to the subscription permission. So I know that's a lot of kind of, we're certainly consistently working on ways to make it simpler. I think the simplest way to think about it is 24+1 plus sponsored messages. That'll cover 99% of what people want to do on Messenger. I think message tags are kind of the other piece. And then for a few narrow use cases and verticals where it applies, subscription messaging.
Thank you so much, Adam. Related to this topic, we have a question for Arjun, and Adam maybe want to will build on it afterwards. The question is, I saw a cost per message of less than 1 cent on the shop message slide, and I don't understand what it's based on. Can you expand on this? So Arjun, any comments on that cost, and maybe Adam can explain how auction works.
Absolutely. So this is the actual results that Blender's eyewear saw for their sponsored message. So sponsored messages, as Adam mentioned, are something that is purchased through the ads platform. So you can do that through a developer like Shop Message, or you can do this directly through the ads manager. And it works similar to other ads like on the newsfeed. It works with an auction process. So the limiting factor is currently there's a limit on how many sponsored messages an end user can receive per day. And so when you're bidding, you're basically bidding against other brands, other messenger bots that are trying to send sponsored messages to their customers. So this is still relatively early, so not many businesses are really even using sponsored messages. So what Blenders happen to see is they got over 80% delivery of the message they wanted to send happen within the first 24 hours. And that's pretty consistent across a lot of the other brands we work with. And that cost is the actual cost that they saw. You can imagine, just like with ads on other placements, that over time, as more brands use it, then this amount might get bid up. So it's important to understand what the relative value of running these ads and how much revenue you're generating. In Blender's case, it was incredibly profitable, running at over 30x ROAS, and this was orders of magnitude above what they're getting in both broadcasting and and retargeting ads on the rest of the Facebook platform. So they saw it as really a bright spot. But I can let Adam give more color to that.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good summary. So the only thing I would add is that, like Arjun said, we're still early days with that product. And so I think we're quite a ways out from the auction materially impacting the average price per message. In the US, the average price per message is around 2 cents. And CPMs for sponsor messages are adjusted to market. And so in a market like Thailand, they're much cheaper. And like Arjun said, we're seeing really strong performance from that product. So, advertisers, it's certainly not uncommon to report read rates around 80%. And it's obviously a high visibility place for businesses to communicate with customers. I think the performance is strong. What we want to encourage businesses to do is be thoughtful about using that channel and really do your best to increase the relevance of that content, right? So I think what we want both in product and in talking to our partners to move toward is just a product that maximizes segmentation and relevance and really tries to target those sponsor messages well to small segments of people where the content is most likely to be effective. We certainly want to dissuade businesses and take steps in product to just kind of blast everyone you've ever had a conversation with kind of a generic message, encourage them to go to your website. So I think that kind of approach will not, I think a lot of users will not love that. And so both, just in trying to counsel people on how to effectively use a channel and in product, we're thinking about ways to use ads targeting, to use pixel events, NAP events, and other signals to better segment those audiences and make those re-engagement messages as targeted and as relevant as possible.
Thank you so much, Adam and Arjun, for your answers. So we have another question that just came up. This one is for Gabe. So when thinking of ways to acquire users in the real world, what are the benefits of using, Facebook Messenger's parametric codes as opposed to the QR code? And which one would you recommend?
Cool. So I'll answer this, and then I'll toss it to Adam for anything to clarify or expand on. So the question here is, of the entry points into Messenger, do you want to do something in the real world or the physical world? So think about, something that's printed at point of sale, or printed in a brochure or out of home board or whatever to get people into Messenger. How would we recommend doing that? And so really there's 3 options, and we recommend 2. And this is all, the idea is, right, to get as many people as possible into your Messenger experience. So the 2 things we would recommend are, 1, using an m.me link. So just like every Facebook page has an fb.me link, every Messenger experience, which is tied to a Facebook page, has an m.me link too. And so that's m.me/the page name. So what you would do is you would just print that URL on whatever it is you're producing. And we recommend that as a great entry point because everyone knows how to use a URL. So they type that shortened URL into their web browser, and if they've got the Messenger app installed, it will open the Messenger app and sort of deep link them right into your Messenger experience. So that's kind of the best way to get the most people in. The next option in terms of getting the most people in, and this is about like what most people are familiar with and what they already know how to use, would be a QR code. So you can take your m.me link and you can use that m.me link to generate a QR code, and people can scan that QR code from their phone's camera or from a QR code app on their mobile device, and then that will send them, just like that m.me link, it will deep link them into your Messenger experience. Messenger codes, which are parametric codes of Messenger codes, are available. Fewer people are going to know how to use those than are going to know how to use a URL. or a QR code. Those are available in the API. However, they're actually not available any longer to businesses through their page or through Business Manager. And really the reason why we encourage businesses instead to use those first two options is because more people are familiar with them, and that's going to drive more people into your Messenger experience. So Adam, anything to add or clarify on that?
No, I think that was well said.
Awesome, thank you. And maybe another question for Adam. Can you talk a little bit about ads that click to Messenger? And one question that arose was, are stories that click to Messenger available?
Happy to. So ads that click to Messenger, I think it's a kind of one of those products that you don't quite understand unless you're doing meaningful things in Messenger. So if you're a social commerce seller and you're selling goods in Messenger, and Messenger is kind of your phone or your storefront, it makes total sense why you would have a Facebook ad with some goods and then have it click into Messenger. I think for a lot of the developers on the call who are building, kind of world-class experiences in Messenger, it makes sense as well. So there's some business outcome that your client wants to achieve, whether it's increasing brand metrics or driving sales or generating leads. And so you've developed an experience in Messenger designed to do that. And so click to Messenger ads are just kind of a way to drive traffic or engagement with that experience in Messenger at scale. And so all they are is, I think Gabe mentioned earlier in the session, is they're just kind of normal Facebook ads and Facebook, Instagram, or Messenger inbox that have normal Facebook ad content. And then what makes them unique is that the post-click experience, instead of going to a website or a mobile app, opens a conversation with the page in Messenger. And so that's kind of like the basic feature. There are some lesser known features of the product. So you can use ref params or bot payloads. Or payloads to direct people from the ad to a specific flow in your bot. And again, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry at all. It's kind of more of an advanced feature, but for the developers who are kind of more familiar with ref params or bot payloads, you can reference the click to Messenger section of our dev docs to understand how to use those tools to direct people from a specific ad to a specific flow. So say you have 3 different flows in your bot, and you want to have one campaign targeted at the third flow, and say the third flow, in the normal flow of getting started on your bot, it takes 5 steps to get to the starting point of the third flow. So get started, step 1, step 2, and then finally, way down the line, you're at the third flow. What ref params and bot payloads allow you to do is take the user directly from that click to Messenger ad down into any part of your bot and kind of make that process more efficient. So that's click to Messenger ads. I think, Pablo, you had a second question related to click to Messenger ads?
So stories.
Stories. Okay, so stories, unfortunately, we don't support that natively in product today. We are building that. So it's on our roadmap. We hope to get that shipped around May, June. It's kind of the developer teams on the call know, like, those timelines are always subject to change, but it's certainly something that we're prioritizing on the product team, and we hope to ship it in the next few months.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Adam. So we have one more question, and then, but if any of you have any other questions, feel free to add them. Otherwise, after this one last question, we'll call it a day. So Zach, this question is for you. Is there an approval process for Messenger experiences?
Yeah, so once you're ready, your team is ready to launch your bot, you have to officially go through the review process that's handled by my sister team in developer operations. And the key things there is that that review team will check that the bot is functioning and check that you're following all of our policy guidelines. That is separate from an assessment that the growth team can do for our partners. And so that assessment is called Platform Feature Recommendation. And essentially, given we determine the use case of the bot, And we have a rubric set up to check for the key features that we think are aligned with the best practices by use case. And so we have that flow, and we would be happy to assess the bot's features and functionality and report back on that assessment.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Zakia, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll be posting this recording on the Facebook group for the Messenger platform developers, and can follow up with any questions. And we'll additionally be sending some of this content on the newsletter for all of our partners that are in our directory, and there will be an opportunity to ask further questions. Thanks again, and hope you have a great day.